Hey Twisters, welcome back. I don't know. What do you say twisted or twisted wristers? Or-
Well, if you're a viewer, you're a twister.
Okay, so hey Twisters, well, welcome back to another crossover episode today. Um, you guys aren't Twisters, but some of you may be. Today we're going to be doing a team that I don't think has ever met the Penguins in the playoffs ever, at least to my memory. The San Jose Sharks, who I don't think have I've ever heard of them playing the Penguins before, correct?
Yeah, I believe that the whole league in 2015, 2016, they kind of, shot themselves through a time machine. And so
Yeah.
the Blackhawks were 2015 champions, and then you guys got yours in 2017. Yeah,
Yeah, just one. Yeah.
just one, yeah.
All right. But yeah. And despite being on literally the entire opposite of the United States, Pittsburgh in one end and San Jose in the other, there's been somewhat of a recent, track record between the two teams. Obviously, meeting in the 2016 Stanley Cup Final, where the Penguins won their first of back-to-back cups, and then also Patrick Marleau just came to Pittsburgh, played a whopping 8 games, but he would have never been able to break that all-time games record had he not played for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Today, as always, we're going to go over 5 names that have played for, or a couple of names that have played for both teams. And I'll start off with the guy that I just mentioned, Patrick Marleau. I'll let you take it away on just how much Patty meant to you guys, and still does mean to you guys. And do you think he's coming back for another season?
Well, I know that he wants to. I have a feeling that maybe this is where the road kind of ends. He'll be turning 42 years old around the time the season starts, but he takes tremendous care of himself, and he's just been synonymous with the Sharks for nearly their whole existence. Of course, he played a little bit with the Penguins. He was a Carolina Hurricane for a hot minute,
Yeah.
and he also played with the Maple Leafs. And even when he walked away, a lot of us had just tremendous respect for him, and we're cheering the Leafs on at the time. With Patty, he has just shown that he's willing to do whatever it takes physically and mentally to condition himself year after year. And I mean, it's going to be weird the year that he actually hangs him up. It could be this year, it could be next year, but he's always going to have some sort of connection with the Sharks. And I don't know if that means in the front office, but he's rooted in the Bay Area forever.
In terms of my input on Marleau, I saw 8 games of him in Pittsburgh. I've obviously seen him play, with the Sharks and the Leafs, but when I said that when the initial trade was announced, I'm like, well, you better win it. You better win it for him. And then you didn't, and you didn't even make it into the playoffs technically because the Penguins were eliminated in the play-in round that year.
Oh, that's right.
Didn't blame anything on Marleau. He was kind of just there for a motivation and didn't get it done. All right, your first pick. Any guys you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, he never played for the Penguins, at least I can't name off the top of my head if he ever did. But, Mike Sullivan does have a Sharks connection. He was, in the early days for the Sharks. So not just him, but also Dean Evison. And there are a couple other guys who played in San Jose who have gone on to have a lot of success in coaching. So Sullivan, even though he didn't, he's a footnote maybe for the Sharks. Of course, that was just kind of one little step on the way to his journey as not just a player, but also a coach as well.
Another name I want my next name that I want to mention is a Stanley Cup champion in 2009 with the Penguins. I've actually met him myself. Majority of his career spent in Pittsburgh, was traded. I forget what draft for like a late round pick, and that's when I knew his career was pretty much done. Tyler Kennedy.
Oh yeah.
Only 2 years in San Jose, 92 games, 26 points, and then in Pittsburgh, what he's remembered with 372 games, 168 points. Stanley Cup champion, pivotal on the third line with Matt Cook and Jordan Stahl. Good bottom six forward. That's really all I have to say about TK. He was, he's good on the PK second unit.
I'm going to sound like a total jerk, but when he came over, we were like, oh, we got another Stanley Cup champion on our roster. This guy's going to be a difference maker. He's going to be an X factor. I don't know if he was playing ever on the second line, but yeah, he was more of a depth piece.
All right. Anyone else you want to mention?
Yes, there is one more, and it kind of pains me to say this. Again, never played a game for the Sharks. He was drafted by the team, but he was sent away I believe as part of a trade for, I want to say, Kent Huskins or maybe Travis Moen with the Ducks. And then he eventually went to Pittsburgh and he scored a couple of big goals. And that is Nick Bonino. That is one of the, yeah, he's one of the few players drafted by the Sharks who actually got dealt away and made an impact with a club elsewhere. And of course, in game one, I believe, of the final, he scores the winning goal in overtime.
Yeah.
And so that one is kind of like a kick to the groin for Sharks fans out there. You know, and he's had a very good career with them, and, you know, went over to Nashville, now plays for Minnesota. So, you know, I think he's provided a lot more value than, you know, than when he was drafted, right? He's given more out there than, you know, GMs would have thought.
Only spent 2 years in Pittsburgh, and those 2 years,
wow. Cup champion.
So he was a guy that you didn't know was going to work out, because the Penguins were, ever since Jordan Staal left town, we're just trying to throw anything at the wall and seeing if it would stick in terms of a third line center. Brandon Sutter didn't work, and then, you know, Nick Bonino comes in, guy out of Anaheim, and Hagelin Bonino Kessel, baby.
Yeah, HBK, right? HBK,
yeah,
that's what they were referred to as.
Yeah. More guys I want to mention are defensemen. One's a pure shutdown defense. Oh, they're both shutdown defensemen. One was a little bit more offensive. Paul Martin and Douglas Murray.
Oh, yeah. Dougie. That's right. He did play. I think, he stopped. He had a cup of coffee with you guys, and then he finished his career after that.
We'll go over Murray real quick because I don't remember much of him. I remember he was a brute. Okay. He could hit people. I remember he scored, I think, let's check. I think he only scored 1 goal with the Penguins, but it was an absolute bomb, and I don't know why I specifically remember it. It went top corner and everything. Yep, 1 goal, 3 points with Pittsburgh. He came over at the infamous 2012-2013 season, lockout-shortened season with the Penguins. That was the year we went all in. That was the year we got Jerome McGinley, Brendan Morrow, UC Aikman, and Douglas Murray, and it didn't work. Swept in the Eastern Conference Finals by the Boston Bruins.
And it's interesting because back in 2008 against the Calgary Flames in the first round, the Sharks are down in that series 2-1. And in game 4, it's a tie game, last minute, and you can find this one online. So it's game 4, and Murray has this shot from the point, and it looks seemingly like he's the one who scores it. So the Sharks get up 3-2 with 7 seconds left, and that saves them in that series. They win that series. And it was fun because, well, first of all, that puck actually just barely deflected off of, I believe, both Marleau and Thornton. So it was Thornton's goal ultimately, but it was great because I think, was it last year or the year before? I was at a Sharks game, and, you know, we talked about Tyler Kennedy and how you met him. I haven't met very many players, but Murray, who is, I think, the president of the Sharks Alumni Association, is hanging out talking to some fans in the concourse, and then they walk away. And I go up to him, I shake his hand, and he just greets me with a big smile, shakes my hand. And I said, I'm like, Douglas, I never forget 2008 against Calgary when your shot from the point went in. I thought it was you who scored, and you know, he hardly ever scored. And he was just like, I know, I thought I scored it too. Just really friendly and, you know, good face for the community still going forward. So he is an absolute beaut in Sharks lore.
And then as for Paul Martin, he played a pretty good chunk of his career with the Penguins, and I don't have anything really bad to say about him. He was a stable shutdown defenseman. He did not score much. He was kind of the Brian Dumoulin before we had Brian Dumoulin. He was a free agent signing, and then he left in free agency and went to San Jose.
Was that right after you guys beat us in the final? Or was that?
Yeah, actually? He was not on those teams. He was not on those teams, so he would have lost to us in the
Got
final.
it. That's right. Yeah, he had a very strong reputation as just a reliable shutdown defenseman.
Another guy that I am at least assuming is a beaut in Sharks lore, as you said, and I'll let you talk about him because I do not know much about him. He only played 1 year in Pittsburgh. I went through my hockey cards to try and find people for this video, searched up Pat Falloon to see if he played for the Penguins, and he did. So apparently he was the 2nd overall pick in '91 draft.
It's crazy because the Sharks, they did not have a number 1 overall draft pick when they entered the league. Kind of like Seattle, they picked, you know, number 2, but number 1 that year was, I believe, Lindros. Anyway, we ended up with Falloon. He was, I didn't get to watch him because I was just a wee lad back then, but you know, he had a couple of productive seasons, if you want to say that. But yeah, he never got anywhere close to, you know, where he was projected. So that's about as much as I can say about him. Once in a while, you might find a Falloon jersey at the Shark
Yeah.
Tank.
Mhm.
But anyway, I'll still put this point in. You know, we've gotten to the point now where it's been 5 years,
Yeah.
and you know, I had animosity for Pittsburgh, and for me, that has somewhat rubbed off. I think the fact that I, you know, have my YouTube channel, that kind of
Mhm.
helps me sort of see uh, from a more well-rounded perspective each team, even like Vegas. As a Sharks fan, I know a
Mhm.
lot about them. There's a lot I can respect and talk about, certainly, and that's also the case for Pittsburgh. But if you ever come to San Jose for a road game, don't expect the same from other Sharks fans out
Oh,
there. That's all I got to say. But I
yeah.
love when the Penguins come. I love it because they bring a lot of fans and it contributes to a lively atmosphere.
I don't hate the Sharks. I really wanted Thornton Marleau to get a cup, but I would rather have the Penguins win it. So,
Yeah.
and I think it also has to do with the fact that the Predators were so much worse. Oh my goodness, their fan base was so much. They were not fun to play. Subban was on those teams. They're just annoying. All right, well, subscribe to Twisted Wrister if you haven't already. Check out his channel. He doesn't do just San Jose Sharks video; he does hockey videos in general. So check him out as well, and we'll look to continue this series as always. So thank you for joining me, Nick.
Thank you, Owen. It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you guys all in the next video.